All right, let's move past dating onto our final story, which I think is mine. And now, because I was not here last week and I was on my /sickbed/movie premiere evening,
Yes. Yes.
did you guys talk very much about Fairview, or did you just kind of mention it, or did you mention it at all?
We did mention it. I'm
Okay.
glad that you reviewed it and caught up.
Okay, yeah, I did not have a chance
I
to
actually
watch
brought
it.
up this slide from a prior show while Bill was
Okay.
talking about something else.
Okay.
And in order to compare the original square footage and height and everything
Okay.
to the announcement that you, by the way, broke, I think, that you broke about the resolution between the city and the church.
I did. I broke it, and I used the words win-win, which has gotten me in so much trouble. So I have to kind of explain what I meant by that, because I think anytime anybody can mediate and come to something that's closer than you were, it's certainly not there yet, but it's closer. To me, that is a win. And I was excited because I had heard a month or so ago even that there was a second plan, a drawing that they might be able to use. And I'd kind of given up hope because a month had gone on. And then suddenly to hear that all of a sudden, I did say, I said thank you to the LDS Church for doing something that seemed to be moving the needle in the right way. But I certainly didn't mean to allude that it was a done deal or over. And we're going to talk about that a little bit here tonight. And there's also going to be something that all of you can participate in tomorrow, which is going to be great. So if you've already seen these, we'll just go over very quickly the original proposal that we've been talking about for so long. 43,000 square feet, that 173-foot tall steeple and the 65 feet walls. Fairview Town Council and lawyers and representatives from the LDS Church met on November 18th. They came up with a new plan, which was then voted on a week ago by the Town Council that said, okay, we'll take a look at this, meaning it still has to go through all the processes that it did before, but it's closer than it was. So the new one, yes, the new drawing here, 30,000 square feet. So it's got a slightly smaller footprint. The walls are the main thing to me, coming down from 65 feet of those massive walls to 35 feet. That right there is a win to me. We're talking solid building down 20 feet. That's huge to me. And then this rather unusual spire on top, which is going to be 120-ish feet. It's going to have just one, like the last 10 feet of it are some kind of a pole. This is a very kind of rudimentary drawing, but this was part of the schematic that the city worked with as they said, okay, we'll vote on this and then we'll send it through all the meetings, get all the input from all the residents. That's the most important part, of course. It's kind of just at the beginning. Here's another drawing.
Can we go back to the last one for a second?
Yes.
Because Rebecca, I had seen a version of this where the spire was flesh colored. Had you seen that one?
Yeah, it seemed like I saw that on your Facebook page, and I feel like somebody was trying to highlight it and chose a very unfortunate color, is what I think happened.
You have no idea who did that?
No, I don't know. Like I said, I've been flat down in bed for 2 weeks, and I feel like someone was just trying to highlight it, and it didn't work out. But anyway, we'll go on.
Okay.
Here's another drawing of it. More of a dome shape there, as you see.
It doesn't look so bad from this angle. Just a little bit off to the side. Doesn't quite look so bad.
No, it doesn't look so bad. And again, it's supposed to be similar in size and look to the Austin Temple, which is right here. And it has that dome on top of it. Although it does seem like the new McKinney rendering is a little taller. And again, we do not know what the name is. This is the question that we were asking. It could have a name change too. Wouldn't that be interesting if it was now the Fairview Temple or something like that? We don't know.
Someone had suggested perhaps the name should be the Boner Palace.
So, well, I've heard, yes, the Phallus Palace. There have been some different names. And again, I'm not exactly sure. I've shown this rendering. Again, the dimensions, that's moving the needle in a positive direction. But I've shown this drawing I'm actually friends with 2 former church architects. Lucky me. Wow. I've shown it to both of them, and they both kind of said, yeah, there are better things to do with, that kind of height and more symmetrical. And they weren't exactly thinking that this was some of the best work.
It really draws the eye to the steeple, I think. Is it true that there are plans for a fountain A small
Yeah,
fountain at the top of the steeple?
I feel there could be plans for a small fountain at the top of the steeple, and wouldn't that be a tourist attraction?
Well, when the
Wouldn't
church
that
was
get them the
talking about the
notoriety?
temple spire, when the church was talking about the temple spire pointing our view to God, I thought they meant like with a finger.
They were never specific about the body part. They simply said, draws your eyes to and points to God. They never said exactly what it was. So,
Well, I'm excited about attending the temple. That's all I can say.
yes, I've heard that joke about 200 times. So we will
But
see.
was
We
it as
will
good
see
as when
what
I said it?
No, no joke is as good as
I
when you
really
say it.
sold that one.
You did sell it. Anyway, all right. So let's read a little bit about this from the Tribune. A lot of people have been covering it. In a rare mediation, the LDS Church compromises with town in disputed temple design. The decision shortens the steeple and shrinks the overall size, but the new plan is meeting with mixed reactions.
There was shrinkage.
Of course it is. There was shrinkage, but not really enough shrinkage. That's exactly right. So, in the Tribune, great article by Tamara. She does a great job. It says a month-long quarrel between the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints and the leadership of a Texas town over a proposed temple appears to be at an end, at least for now. That's exactly it. This is just on pause. The two parties announced separately this week that they came to an agreement during mediation over a new shrunken version of the temple planned for Fairview, a Dallas suburb of 10,000 around 10,000 people, known for its acreage-sized lots and wide open skies. We are grateful to the town officials from Fairview that they were willing to discuss the concerns of the community with church representatives. Church spokesman Sam Penrod, right? It's never going to be Aaron. Never going to be Aaron. Said in a statement, and we were able to reach an agreement to move forward. Okay. I mean, this just happened, you guys. It just happened. Indeed, in a statement of his own, Mayor Henry Lessner, previously a vocal opponent, said the town council had given the new design its unanimous approval. We appreciate the efforts of all those involved in working together in good faith to try to produce a compromise solution that will protect the town's character and zoning laws, Lessner added, while at the same time allowing the church to construct the temple at its chosen site. Again, everybody wants the temple built. We just have to work out those pesky details. Let's see. Let's go to the next slide here. In the meantime, Lessner told the Salt Lake Tribune on Wednesday, pushback against the smaller version is already brewing from residents who are struggling to understand why religious organizations just can't follow our ordinances like everyone else has to. Well, that is the age-old question, isn't it? Others, he continued, wondered why a temple with its exclusive membership doesn't have to pay property taxes, a common federal exemption granted to religious institutions for their places of worship.
Are any of the residents wondering why there's a giant boner on top of the new temple?
You know, no one has said that yet. However, I feel this will come up. I feel this will arise. I feel this will be a topic of conversation tomorrow.
I hope so. It's like the VHS cover for the original, what was it? The Little Mermaid?
Yep, the Little Mermaid. Yep.
Cover art.
It had the pillars and everyone's like, oh my God.
Yes,
Yep.
at least there the erection was kind of hidden.
Yep.
Here it's right out in the open.
Yep. Disney
We
is
will go down,
notorious.
Jehovah.
Yeah, exactly. It's true.
Oh my gosh. Did you hear what Bill just said?
No, what did you say? Sorry.
Say it again.
We will go down, Jehovah.
Oh God, this is just jumping the shark as we speak right here. So, all right, here we go. Let's go on. So Discord already, or just people saying, wait a minute, what about this, that? I mean, these guys have been in this for a long time. They are battle weary. Think about all the meetings that, you know, we've live streamed, that we've followed, that we've reported on. And these people live this every day. They're there. I mean, it's just, I would say just battle weary. Let's see. Joel, a Fairview resident who shares a property line with the proposed temple, said that the deal left him with mixed feelings. That's a very honest reaction. The proposed mediated specifications still do not strictly adhere to the town of Fairview's ordinances, the previously staunch opponent noted, in particular concerning the building and the steeple height. And again, I agree with Joel. I think the walls is a win, down to 35 feet. That's the same as the stake center. The footprint 30, that's fine. It's that dang steeple, 120 feet. It's just too tall. I'll repeat Nemo. He said the same thing. Too tall. That's exactly it. Town ordinances cap the building size in residential zones like the one the temple is slated for at 35 feet. Besides the steeple, the structure itself will reach 45 feet in some places. So it'll be a little variety in the roof. But again, not that 65 that they were trying to pull. And remember how they were trying to say that God insisted that they have the mass of the walls. They were trying to throw everything in, right?
Yeah.
That it was part of their religious worship. Even so, Joel Dean.
This was a temporary commandment.
It was obviously a temporary commandment. There are so many of those now. I can't even keep track. The new proposal is worth reviewing. And he says the mistake would be to make hasty conclusions or litigious solutions based on historical emotions and outdated facts. And I think that's a very level-headed way to look at it. You know, obviously this is going to have to go through the entire process and everybody's going to be heard. But I think Joel is thinking, okay, look, we're closer. You know, we're closer. We're not there yet, but we're closer. And I think you guys, and I know, I mean, this is unheard of. They don't move.
Right.
The only time they move is when they don't have the power, which is what happened in Fairview. They did not have the power and they had to play this card. There's a letter.
I think it's a huge win for Fairview. Rebecca, can you go back to the last slide? Because once again,
certainly.
This fellow bottom picture in the middle of the lawyers. Yeah. What's his name again? Do you remember?
Which one?
The one in the middle.
Is that Rainey? I can't remember. Is it the?
I can't remember, but the one in the middle who has a very displeased look on his face. Yeah, the reason why he's unhappy, I found out, is because he wasn't allowed to bring his giant scythe into the meeting. He had to check it outside with the police.
He had to check it at the door. That's exactly it. So there's a lot of information that's been put out now about, you know, the mediation and the new plan and everything. If I could, even what I printed out is too small. RFM, can you just read very quickly?
No chance in hell.
You can't read it?
What are you talking about?
Okay. I can't read it. It's too small.
It says, Dear Fairview residents, the purpose of this letter is to share an update with you regarding the temple proposed by the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Boners. As you know, the town has been engaged in a mediation. What happened?
It's gone. There it is.
Oh. As you know, the town has been engaged in a mediation process with the church concerning their plans for a temple in our community. Yeah, as you know. I am pleased to report that we have reached an initial compromise that can be put forward to the community, period. Let me stress that this proposal must still go through our normal zoning process with input from our citizens, so please don't throw rocks at us yet. The memorandum of settlement calls for the church to decrease the temple's overall height by approximately 54 feet and to reduce the size of the building from 2 stories to 1. The newly proposed temple would be around 30,000 square feet. Most of the 1-story building conforms with the town's current zoning regulations for the property with a building height of 35 feet. A smaller raised portion on top of the building increases the height of that section to 45 feet, and a tower on top reaches no more than 120 feet. Do you think they're calling it a tower to hark back to the Methodist Church?
I feel like that is an issue still. Yes.
The church's original proposal called for constructing a 45,000 square foot, 65-foot tall 2-story building with a steeple and spire reaching almost 174 feet. On Monday, our town council agreed unanimously to approve the non-binding settlement agreement that would permit the church to submit a new proposal consistent with the settlement agreement, which would go before the Planning and Zoning Commission and then would return to the council for consideration. Now that's weird because it just did that. Here we go. For consideration. The council will hold a workshop session with residents to review the settlement agreement and to hear comments. The workshop will be held in conjunction with the regular town council meeting on Tuesday, December 3rd, that starts at 7:30 p.m. The meeting will be live streamed for any who want to watch the discussion, which is what we'll be doing live tomorrow night, unless, of course, the aliens from outer space actually do invade tomorrow, as they've been predicting.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, odds are it's not going to happen.
We'll see.
We appreciate the efforts of all those involved in working together in good faith to try to produce a compromise solution that will protect the town's character and zoning laws while at the same time allowing the church to continue the temple at its chosen site. We look forward to the upcoming meetings and hearing your thoughts on the resolution of this issue. Henry Lessner, Mayor of the town of
There it
Fairview.
is. Thank you so much for reading that. So yes, that's exactly what we're talking about. And we'll just go through what's going to happen next, and then we'll talk about what we're going to do tomorrow night that you guys can participate in. So the next thing, exactly what we're talking about, is going to be Tuesday, December 3rd. It'll be 6:30 Mountain Time. There's a workshop session in conjunction with the town council meeting to review the new plan and hear comments. Going forward in February on the 13th, there'll be the planning and zoning meeting. And in March on the 4th, there's going to be the town council meeting where they will vote. That's way in the future. But as far as tomorrow, there it is. We are on the newscast. And I'm actually, usually we drop a Mormonish episode on Tuesday. But because while I was sick, I had to literally reschedule 7 guests. We're going to use this as our nightly Mormonish episode. Besides, where would our viewers want to be? But here we are going to live stream this Fairview Town Council meeting. We're going to start at 6, just so we can give some background and commentary. It's not the first item on the agenda, but I've been assured that it's pretty close to the top. And we're just going to watch as the town council members discuss the decision they made to vote unanimously with this new plan. Maybe give some new information from behind the scenes as far as what went into that decision. And then we'll be able to hear from some of the residents, their concerns, things that they want to bring up and talk about in relation to the new design. So you guys can all look for that. It'll be on Mormon discussions. It'll be on Mormonish. It'll be everywhere. And you guys can just tune in and check out what's going on. I think this will be one of the most important meetings. I mean, I never believed we would get to this point where there was something different on the table and that they'd be discussing it. So are you guys excited for tomorrow? I think it'll be really interesting.
I'm very excited about tomorrow. Sorry, go ahead, Bill.
No, I just want to note this had the old thumbnail, so it did say Monday, December 2nd. I put up the new one to Tuesday, December 3rd.
Okay.
I want to, if you guys don't mind me chiming in,
Please.
I'm curious, didn't the church just damage its legal argument if this does go further? Think about this. They claim that God came in and told them the steeple has to be a certain height.
Yep.
Then they send their negotiator to an arbitration meeting, and the church gives a compromised plan that says, here's what we'll do to meet you in the middle. Like, now you already have God wavering. Now you have God changing his mind. You have God going like, well, at first I told you this is the way it had to be, but these guys are just so not so nice and they're so persistent that now I'm giving plan B. Wouldn't it be hard now to go into a court of law and argue that God needed your temple to be in a certain specific size, which would then make it so that it didn't really matter what size it was? It seems like God has no problem adjusting.
Yeah, and that was my first thought. What about the steeple doctrine? What do faithful members right now who went to those meetings, the woman who held up a picture of a Boston temple without a steeple and said her marriage there was diminished without the steeple, does it even enter their thought, wow, we were told to say this a month or so ago, like absolutely say it, right, with every fiber of our being. And now that seems to be gone. It's a new height, like you have, quite a bit lobbed off the top. I don't know how you would justify that or think about that, or if you even would think about it. But that was my first thought.
If I were an apologist, I would bring up the Old Testament example of Abraham successfully negotiating with Jehovah.
That's a very good argument. Yeah. And I'm sure we'll hear, like I said, this meeting tomorrow night, I'm sure there'll be a lot of members there, and they'll probably say things like, our church, gave the concession. We're being the nice guy. And there is the danger of that. Do they look like the nice guy? If the residents say still not good enough, or if the town council has said that, does that make them not look reasonable? It's a very delicate political balance, I think.
Yeah, to me, it's not so much about looking reasonable. To me, it's about winning.
Yeah.
And right now, the city of Fairview has a big win on their hands.
Mm-hmm.
And all they have to do to cement the win is treat it like a win. If they treat it like a loss, it will be seen as a loss. Yeah. So you declare victory, Fairview, you leave the field, and you say, we won against the LDS church.
Yeah, I'd like the steeple to come down still. I'd like it to be shorter if there was a way to do that. But we'll see at the meeting. There's a lot of dynamics behind the scenes that we are not aware of because we don't live in Fairview. So it'll be really interesting. All right, a couple more things on this topic really quickly. All right. Okay, so we got some other temple building towns that we follow, right? What do they think? What do you think Vegas thinks hearing all of a sudden that the church went into a non-binding mediation and actually changed the square footage and brought the walls down by 20 feet and changed that spire? Well, I'll tell you what they think. The LDS church reaches a deal with Texas town. Nevada residents now request a similar meeting, right?
Too late for you guys. Sorry.
Where's my meeting is what they're going to say.
Yeah.
So,
You're not getting a meeting, Nevada.
Exactly. So they say Lone Mountain community members in the Las Vegas Valley are asking the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints to mimic a good faith deal struck by a Texas town council and the religious leaders, which would reduce the proposed temple's height and size there in Lone Mountain. That's a beast there. That is a massive temple. The compromise in Texas astonished some residents of the Las Vegas community of Lone Mountain. And this is true. I was texting all my temple friends in all the cities, and they're like, what? They couldn't believe it. Who said that they were hoping for a similar chance at mediation, but noticed the stark difference from Fairview. It's wonderful for the citizens of Fairview, said Sue Christensen, a Lone Mountain resident. Unfortunately for us in Vegas, I don't think they are going to be forced to the table, and we'll return to that word. 8 News reached out, but representatives of the LDS Church did not respond for this story. Then it talks about the members of the church hoping, that it's going to be a heaven on earth and have a wonderful garden and all of that. And I do know in Cody that reporters are reaching out and putting a story together as other residents weigh in. But that word forced is interesting. I feel like, and this is probably simplistic, but in Fairview, it's a place where, for whatever reason, the LDS Church didn't really have very much power. They didn't have an inside guy who'd been confusing things behind the scenes as far as voting, like there was in Cody. They didn't have campaign contributions that allegedly, whatever that meant, changes in zoning and things like that. They didn't have any of that in Cody. They had a solid council, town council. They had solid organized citizens. And so I feel like none of these other towns will get a meeting like that because there's no need to. The church did what they had to do in Fairview, which may be seen as the right thing, as they come closer in what will make everybody happy. But I think they only did it because they had to. What do you guys think?
Well, they didn't have to any more than the city had to. But what they did was they did a cost benefit analysis, whether that's actual money or whether it's reputation or PR. And both sides decided that they would come to the table and agree to this mediation. It's a good idea. The difference in Las Vegas, they already caved. They already gave it away. The city council already voted to approve the church's behemoth temple there. They're past it. They're past the point of no return. Same thing in Cody, even though it may have been arrived at by unlawful methods, and even though that issue is yet to be decided by the Supreme Court there in Wyoming, correct, Rebecca?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, it is. It's their case. Yeah. The Cody residence has been accepted by the Supreme Court, and it is moving forward. So
that story's not done yet.
Yeah. And I think I have a picture to kind of illustrate. Yeah, here we go in Cody. This is what they're doing. My friends there right across the street are saying they are building very quickly. They are trying to get a lot done very quick, already there. I think maybe before the case goes to the Supreme Court, trying to get cement in, before the ground freezes. So they're working like little bees really fast. But again, that case is there, headed for the Supreme Court. But no, there's going to be no mediation there with the church. They don't have to do that.
But Las Vegas is done. It's a done deal. Cody, pending the ruling from the Supreme Court, which may change things, is a done deal, other than that possibility, because they already agreed to it.
Yep. Any thoughts on that? Being forced to the table, Bill, or doing the right thing, or doing the thing you have to do, or?
My only thought goes back to the Fairview situation. Like, I agree with you, RFM. They can treat it like a win. Also, there's a piece of me that would love for one of these cities to just say the hell with it. Let's take these guys all the way, and let's see what happens when the highest levels of the court system have to decide whether you can justify anything in the name of religious freedom. Because I think that has far-reaching repercussions for a whole bunch of other things.
I hear what you're saying, But let me go back a little bit, okay? Because in Fairview, the city, it was going to cost them millions and millions and millions of dollars to appeal this thing, and it could have gone all the way up to the Supreme Court, and they could have lost. Even if they win, they lose.
Mm-hmm.
But the facts in that case were very good for the city. Then the lawyers for the church went into a huddle, and they came back with this alternative proposal. And if the city had denied this alternative proposal, the facts would not have been as good for the city on appeal. So
Yeah,
that's
it could be a long game. It could be a long game. And I think we'll find out more about what happened in those meetings tomorrow night, Tuesday, December 3rd, 6 p.m. Mountain Time, when we're going to be live streaming this. So I'll say one last thing that I just found out right before we came on the newscast, and I'd love to share and speak temple news. And again, you're right. Some of these towns, they may take it to the top. So this is your neck of the woods kind of RFM. This is the Tacoma Temple, which we announced on the newscast, I think before anyone else last summer, that it was going to be in Federal Way, Washington. It's going to be right next to the, you know where it is, RFM.
Wild Waves Water Park on I-5.
Water Park, which led to a lot of jokes about baptisms and washing and anointings and all kinds of things. When I came out to visit you, RFM, I drove right through the area. There's a high school and the Wild Waves. I keep calling it Magic Waves.
Magic Mountain.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, the Tacoma, Washington LDS Temple is located at 1405 South 364th Way and Federal Way near a water park. It's moved to the next phase of building by submitting its pre-application to the town of Federal Way. And according to this submittal, the size of the temple that they've submitted, now this is not a drawing. I do not have the schematic. This is the original McKinney Temple, but it's the same size. You've got the 173-foot steeple. You've got the 43-foot square foot footprint. I haven't heard about the walls, but it sounds like it's almost like they said, we can't build it here. Let's kick on up to Washington State and build it there. I thought that was kind of interesting. I'm hoping to get the schematic soon. Again, this is not the picture of the Federal Way Temple, but it's a picture of a similar sized temple, the former McKinney Temple. Now, what I find very interesting, and
what is that?
That's my idea. Yeah, that's my idea right there. So this is what I find interesting, that they're in Federal Way. According to the city there, the subject property is zoned single-family residential, for which the church use has a maximum building height of 30 feet above the average building elevation. So how tall is a typical house in Tacoma area, Federal Way area? I mean,
I guess 25 feet at the most.
They're not like here in Utah where you've got 6-story houses. These are more single level. So we're talking add 30 feet to that. And here it says no taller than 55 feet pursuant to the special, certain special conditions. So I didn't list them out here, but I did read through them. And I had my co-host Landon, his occupation is in building, read through them. And sure, there was a little bit of wiggle room for religious iconography that can go slightly higher, but it kept saying no taller than 55 feet. So it sounds to me that unlike Fairview, as we learned very early on when the church lawyers said, your zoning and ordinances are a little more wiggly, right? They're not locked down. They're wiggly. You have that bell tower precedent that's up there 154. It's not as set in stone as others. I believe Prosper, where the Fairview Temple was first announced, I believe their ordinances were pretty set in stone because the church handed them a packet. The temple was supposed to be built there first. And I think when the city handed the church a packet, here's our zoning. And very quickly, the church moved over to Fairview. So I wonder about Federal Way. And I hope that maybe some of our viewers are familiar with the area, or familiar with the town, or would like to go on the town's website or do a little bit of digging in, because we're just at the beginning of this process where they've introduced the design. The next step will be notifying residents around the area, having that first initial meeting. If you remember the first initial meeting in Fairview, they told everyone they were going to sue them and use RLUIPA. That was the first interaction that the Fairview residents had with the church. So I'm just throwing this out there because I'm curious, because reading through these codes, they seem to be pretty solid. So this will be interesting to watch.
Yeah, a lot of people have questions about Federal Way. Speaking from experience,
Mhm.
but if you know where SeaTac Airport is, this location is not that far from SeaTac.
Okay. Yeah, so we'll see. Again, it's just something new to follow. It's another temple that's on another step, and they are asking in a place where it clearly says 55 feet, they are asking and submitting a design for 173 feet. So what do you think that means?
I think what it means is they already have their Chinese manufacturers have already produced the prefab model that was originally for Fairview. So now they got to stick it somewhere else.
That's possible. And I do understand there is a member of the church on the town council. Whether that makes a difference or not, I don't know.
Oh,
But
you
yeah,
don't think it would make a difference? Did it make a difference in Cody?
I'm being very,
Yes.
alleged. I'm being very middle of the road. You know what I think.
But that member of the church in Cody really screwed it over.
That was a problem. Inside guy,
Yeah.
contributions, there's all kinds of formulas for
Giving
this.
false
So,
information to the rest of the city council.
yeah,
They voted yes. And then they found out, wait a second, what did we just sign here?
yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah, even when they begged, we want to change our vote. We didn't understand what we were voting for. Too late. You can't change your vote. We all learned that the hard way. So anyway, lots of interesting temple things to follow, and we'll just see what happens. And I will say that, with so many temples announced, 367, 200 dedicated, 160 temples, 67 temples left to be built. Previously, building maybe at the most 6, 8 a year. Not enough. Not enough. I do know things are in the works behind the scenes to streamline that process. We are going to see an incredible avalanche of temples, and we are going to see these scenarios over and over and over again. It will be impossible to miss. So everybody pay attention in your towns, pay attention to what's been announced, get involved in your city government. Just, be in the know. That's all I'm trying to say.
And if you see a temple that's in the works where you live or close to where you live, know that Rebecca Bibliotheca and Mormonish have the goods on these people. And how is that website going on which you have that information, that
Yeah,
warehouse of information?
still working on that. It's been a little slow going the fall, but we are trying to put together something with the help of Messiah, who's amazing. That would be something that any town could just log on to, and just information, not pro, not con, just saying this is what happened in my town, or this is something you might want to look at. And I think that'd be really helpful. But I have heard that, mayors are starting kind of to talk behind the scenes to other mayors, things like that. People are reaching out to other towns that have been in the news with temple building. And I think that's interesting when people come together and try to say, what can we do that's going to be best for our town and the LDS church? Everybody wants a temple. Let's just get it built in the best possible way, or the best possible good, and the least possible hurt feelings or ruptured community relations for everybody. There it is. I think we did it.
Apparently some of the people in Fairview, some of the citizens in Fairview are not happy about this resolution.
Oh, no, not at all. No, and their voice needs to be heard. And that's what tomorrow's for. And that's what the process all the way up through the spring is for. Absolutely. It is not a done deal whatsoever. It's just one thing that says, okay, we're a little closer. That's it. But it needs to come down. It needs to be.
That's why I'm going to be joining you guys tomorrow. I'll be here because I want to hear the disgruntled citizens.
Yep. I want to hear, I wouldn't even call them disgruntled. I want to hear the property owners, the citizens. I want to hear what they have to say because they have a right to say it. Absolutely. So yeah, this will be quite the meeting, guys. Tomorrow, 6 p.m. We'll be doing some pre-commentary, and then we'll dive right into the meeting.